You know, many deaths, too painful. That's how best to describe the festering security situation in Kebbi State, northwest Nigeria, as bandits relentlessly unleash mayhem on not just hapless villagers, but even the VIPs. Last week, the report came in that bandits killed 19 security personnel during an ambush on the convoy of Deputy Governor in Kanya, Danko, Wasagu local government area. Now, 63 members of a vigilante group were similarly killed in the Sakaba Council area on the night of March 6. In the wake of the killings, the House of Reps called on the federal government to deploy more military personnel to the affected areas. Now, reaching the resolution after a motion of urgent public importance by Chonoko Law and 7 other members from Kebbi State, the lower chamber also asked the military to establish 2 outposts at Yahuri and Sakaba local government areas of Kebbi. Now, the lawmakers also want a state of emergency declared on insecurity in the northwest and other parts of the country. GKB, just before we go to our guest, can we quickly talk about the attack on the deputy governor?
It is unfortunate, but it's a reality check that nobody is really safe in this environment. Because normally you expect somebody that protected, that secure to escape such an ambush. But look at the number of personnel that were lost. I don't even want to quote it like some people are doing on social media with the number of people that were attached to one deputy governor. That is irrelevant. What's relevant that people are serving their country and they lost their lives in the course of duty. That to me is the saddest part. Not whether they are on duty for other reasons or whatever else people are talking about.
Of course, the deputy governor, as the number 2 citizen,
must be protected,
is entitled to be protected.
So I want our Nigerians to always look at it from that direction, that security affects everybody. And this is unfortunate in any form or shape that you want to look at it.
Yeah, yeah. Lekunle?
Well, those calling on as do more security posts, do more, I don't see that as as the solution. I don't know of any state that has more military presence than Kaduna State. Is Kaduna peaceful today?
It's Kebbi.
I know, I'm just talking about if having military formations here and there are the solutions. Is Kaduna safer today than any other state in Nigeria? And you have many more military units and formations in Kaduna than anywhere in Nigeria. So the problem is problem of banditry, problem of terrorism, because I believe this is act of terrorism.
It is terror.
You kill about 20 soldiers of Nigerian military. That's callous. Some days before that, this same bandits killed close to 100 vigilante members. So they carted away military truck, AK rifles, so many things like that. What is more, believe me, I don't even see them as bandits. I see terrorists.
But they are.
That's what they are.
They are.
Because you laid ambush and you killed 18, 19 Nigerian soldiers. To me, in fact, I can't even figure it out. How
it's
did
unfortunate.
It happen?
It's unfortunate.
Okay.
Because there was a point in Nigeria that you kill one soldier, you can be rest assured the enemy will get you. Now they kill top officers and nothing happens. They even then and why with those people who rejoice that they've killed senior military officers.
19 soldiers in one.
19 soldiers in one fell swoop.
All right. We'll turn things over to Barrister Sani Yaro. Sani Yaro is in Kebbi State. He's going to shed some more light on the situation there. Barrister, good afternoon. Are you there? Okay, let's get to Jide first of all, while we establish a link with Barrister Sani Yaro. Jide, so Kebbi, it was Kaduna yesterday, today it's Kebbi. What more can we say? What more can we say?
operation ɗin kana an kai.
It is not as if those bandits have set up camp in Kebbi, but they are constantly moving into the Zulu Emirates. And you will see that it is in Zulu Emirates where they have been constantly killing people. The other time they killed 88 persons in one day. Now,
that's like
this past week, they've killed 18 soldiers from the 223 battalion stationed in Zulu, as well as vigilante 63 vigilante men who were lured into a cul-de-sac, because naturally the vigilance men should have retreated, but they didn't know that when these bandits were running away from them, they were trying to lead them to a place where they had already positioned their fighters, and then they wasted these guys. Something drastic has to be done about protecting Zulu Emirate. Zulu Emirate, as we all know, is one part of Nigeria that has produced more generals than any other part of our country. They've also produced many DIGs. In fact, in all spheres of life, they produced fantastic people. When you're talking about even sons, there are 6 sons from Kebbi State, and 3 of them, including the brilliant Hosseini Zakaria, are from Zulu Emirate alone. They have more than 60 professors from that part of Kebbi State. More than 65 major generals. Remember the Bamei brothers.
Oh yeah, they are Zulu.
They are from this Zulu Emirate. But in spite of the fact that they have many retired police generals and army generals, that area has come under consistent attack these days from bandits. And that's why I will support the reinforcement of security in that area, since we know now that the attacks by these bandits appear to be localized in that area. So it will be a lot more, it will be a lot easier to defend the area, unlike a state like Zamfara and Kaduna, where more than 3/4 of the local governments in the state are under attack, or even Katsina, where about 10 to 12 local governments are constantly under attack. The local governments in the Zulu Emirate are just 4. So we should be able to protect these 4 local governments and stop the hemorrhaging of human lives in that area. Since we know that they come in through Rijau local government in Niger State and from Zamfara, Bukuyum, we should be able to block the areas through which they come into Kebbi State and protect our people. We can't continue to lose lives in this way. And I'm sure a lot of us have seen videos of wives of those soldiers who were killed, who went to the home of the commanding officer of the light tank battalion, Zulu, to go and protest about the loss of their husbands. We've got to do something drastic to stop these killings. It's just too much in one state.
All right. Now we'll attempt to reach a lawyer and principal partner at the Chonoko Law Chamber in Birnin-Kebi. Birnin-Kebi is the capital of Kebbi State. Barrister Sani Yaro is waiting there. He's joining us via Zoom for more insight into the security situation in Kebbi. Barrister, are you there? Good evening to you.
Yeah, good evening.
Yeah.
Happy meeting you.
Yeah, it's our hearts are heavy, like yours. We are sorry about what's going on. But what picture can you paint for us now?
Yes. Yes, there has been security concerns within the 4 local governments of Zulu Emirate as well as Yauri Emirates of Kebbi State for the past few weeks due to incessant cases of banditry, cattle rustling that resulted into a lot of humanitarian crises, which led to the loss of lives of many gallant men of the soil, especially the people that are popularly called Yansakai. Not only them, during the instant attacks over the weeks, even the Nigerian military has lost their gallant men in a town called Kanya. So the overview of the situation on ground is that these bandits normally operate from 4 walls of the state, particularly from Bukum local government of Zamfara state, Dansa, the local government of Zamfara state, and Bangi local government of Niger state. So all these local governments bordering Zamfara, as well as the Bangi local government bordering Niger state, the local governments of Zulu Emirate were infiltrated by these bandits, and they have their field day for many weeks now operating unabated, which led to the loss of lives, properties, causing humanitarian crisis, and a lot more. And I will tell you that if you look at the axis from Zamfara axis, these bandits normally come from Bukim local government to a town called Akau. From Akau, they move to what we call Baruba, and from Baruba, they will have their access to Dankade, Regum, villages from that axis. And if they operate from Ertasha also in Bukim local government, they will have their way to Dankade, Shangal axis. They will now access every part of Zulu Emirate from that route. The same thing applies if they are coming from Bangi local government. Normally, they will operate through Ayu, which is a ward in Danko local government, which they will have them access to a village called Mesa. And from Mesa, they will move up to Udechi. From Udechi, they will move to between Kanya and Gwazawa. And that particular location, there is a particular forest and a cattle route, which will give them an advantage to infiltrate villages like Gwazawa, from Gwazawa, Koro, up to Dungu villages, and they will access up to Chkoka, and that will give them an advantage also to operate to villages like Bedi and the rest, which will lead them to inside Zulu local government. And another route again, which these people operate, or these bandits, or rather terrorists operate, they will also operate through Bangi local government, through a village called Moguria that will access them through Dankolo, Daura, and from there they will infiltrate a village called Doka. And it's that Doka there where our gallant men of Ansaka lost their lives last week, particularly on the 5th of this month, where about almost 70 of them lost their life in one expedition. So if you look at the scenario generally, is that Zulu Emirate, particularly the 4 local governments of Zulu Emirate, has been the field day where these bandits has been operating unabated. And in addition to that, one of the major problems that is happening, the successful checkmating of these excesses, is characterized with lack of sufficient manpower by the security agencies. This has resulted that it's just in a situation whereby you have bandits moving in convoy of 300 of them, carrying 3 heavily armed men with 3 AK-47 rifles, in addition to RPG, infiltrating a location or close to a location of a military post that doesn't have more than 10 men, only with their AK-47 rifle, which conventionally it will be very suicidal for those 10 men to confront these bandits. So if you look at the background of the security architecture within the Emirates, there are not a lot of foot soldiers on the ground that could be able to do this operation. Even the efforts of Ansa Akai, why there has been a lot of casualties in the side of the Ansa Akai whenever they engage, these are people that use them guns and other locally made guns they call Wagila, and it will be unprofessional or unconventional at this critical moment of our life and the challenging securities across the globe to think that people holding a damn gun or locally made gun could confront somebody holding AK-47 rifle, AK-49, and RPG guns. So I think it is so disheartening, honestly speaking, if you are to go by the background of men we lost within this year. If you take a background check, you will understand that there were attacks that happens at the tail end of 2021 up to the present time we are in. The attacks in Dokankwaya, sometimes last year, we lost a lot of men, ranging about 107. Around Dankade, we lost about 37 men on one expedition. The same thing applied to Gaya village. And surprisingly, it will surprise you the way these people have been operating all these days. There was an attack just of recent where it was just 2.5 kilometers away from Ripa. Ripa happens to be my local government, and there was attacks in Zutu village where some of our friends lost their lives, killed by this. They were killed by these bandits, and it's just 2.5 or rather 3.5 kilometers to the local government headquarters, which is very apprehensive if they could operate in such a magnitude to some extent to infiltrate up to the close to the local government headquarters. So as I'm telling you right now.
Yeah, go on, go on.
Yes, as I'm telling you right now, there are a lot of villages that nobody lives in those villages now. If you look at a village called Dankade, nobody lives in Dankade now. And Dankade is suburb of Bukuyum local government, bordered by Zamfara. The same thing applies to a village called Regum. After Regum, Kedebu. All these are villages that are bordered in Danko local government, particularly Weje, or rather the people of Chonoko, as they are popularly called. All these villages, nobody lives in those villages. A lot of those people now live in IDP camps in Unashi, Korgie, and some other villages. And the same thing applies if you go to Unashi. All the neighboring villages that were infiltrated, they have their IDP camps also there in Unashi. The same thing applies if you come to the local government headquarters, that is Ripa, that is the headquarters of Danko local government. All the primary school, we know of Atagomo, the Central Primary School, the Nizamiya, the NYSC Primary School, and including state housing estates that were built that are yet to be occupied or distributed by the government of the day, were all occupied as IDP camps by these people that are facing these incessant attacks on daily basis. The same thing applies. If you look at the cases of Ayu and other IDP camps in Machika, as I'm telling you, as at yesterday, even some women gave birth there at the IDP camps. And if you look at it analytically, that has been a kind of humanitarian challenges bedeviling the people of that area. And I will further add that, though there has been an intervention from the side of the government, which we are grateful to some extent of what they have done in terms of providing relief materials, but we still appeal to the government to do more in terms of catering to the welfare of the displaced persons. Especially in all the communities where lives were lost, I will authoritatively tell you that these people have roasted a lot of cows. In some communities, they roasted about more than 1,000 cows. In some communities, 800. In some communities, 100 and something. So our people are now economically impoverished. And these people are agrarians. They rely on farmers. They farm. So if these issues are not put in place, the rainy season is fast approaching. And our people are going to face a problem because they cannot return back to their farmlands.
Barrister Yaro, yeah, Barrister Yaro, but it's a little curious that an environment like yours where you have a number of retired generals will not, cannot boast of security presence. It's a little curious to us.
Yes, so if I will respond to that, sir, if you look at the way we are now, it's not all about being a general. It's whether the political will by the leaders of the day is there to put check on these excesses. A general retired is a retired general. He cannot issue any order. But what we are saying is that there has been an engagement severally with the government of the day to be able to put up these machineries in place to check these excesses. And let me tell you, what proliferated the issue of this Ensakai to take the bull by its horn is because the security architecture on ground are not enough to do the job. If you look at the vast border bordering from Zamfara to Danko, Wasagu to Zulu Emirate, I will tell you it's more than 300 to 400 kilometer border. And these people infiltrate from each angle of these borders. So by and large, if you look at it analytically, how many soldiers are on ground to be able to do that, almost all policemen? And that is why we are talking of the integration or a synergy between Yansaka, the local vigilante of our community, with the soldiers to work harmoniously for the purpose of putting check on these excesses for law and order to be restored in those communities. And I will tell you that if that is properly done, the Yansaka will be properly integrated. Tactics will be given to them because these bandits, in fact, they are given military training. They know how to put a surprise attack on people. But these Yansaka were not properly trained to be able to engage these bandits or terrorists in this kind of incessant attack that we are facing in our communities.
Yeah.
So there are a lot of challenges. The governor of the day, I know he used to visit all these affected areas at some point in time.
Yeah.
But one thing that remains obvious is that the government has attempted to do a little push with respect to that. But what we are appealing, their good was not enough. What we are trying to plead to them is that to put more efforts by making it a case, because one of the major problems sometimes you don't make a security issue an issue when it comes to the issue of Kebbi State. For example, we used to be infiltrated from Niger and Zamfara. And some people will begin to believe that no, it's just a flashpoint. Maybe it's a transit when these people are moving from Zamfara to Niger, they have to pass through Kebbi. But one critical issue is that this banditry is economical now in nature because majority of people who lost their lives, they were people who put a check on their excesses on their way, rustling our cattle from Kebbi to Niger or to Zamfara.
Yeah.
In absence of any confrontation, challenging their excesses about the cattle they are rustling, loss of lives used to be very minimal. But the majority of these Yansaka that lost their life, if you look at it, is confronting them at the time they are taking these cattle or cows from Kebbi State to either Niger or to Zamfara. Once there is that confrontation, certainly we used to lose a lot of men in that expedition. So if you look at it analytically, that we are playing to the government of the day to put more effort by providing a lot of logistics. And I appeal to them to integrate this Yansaka and give them some regimental training upon which they will incorporate them to complement the effort of security agencies, which has shown to be insufficient in stemming the excesses of this banditry on act of terrorism within Zulu Emirate and some parts of Yauri in general.
Thank you, Barrister. Thank you very kindly. GKB, you know, the trouble here is women and children will take the rap when these idiots come. And you are wondering, how long more? So the call for a state of emergency to be imposed is right?
Yeah. In fact, I thought they would have declared a state of emergency in the Northwest about 3 years ago when it started spreading. You know what, there was a time it was rampant in Katsina. They removed to Zamfara and then moved along to that. But you want me to talk to Barrister?
Go on, go on.
Barrister.
I have a question for him. Barrister Yaro, are you there?
Are you there?
I'm there, sir.
Wonderful. The point I'm trying to make is that about a year ago, the governors of the Northwest came together to work together. I said the governors of the Northwest.
About a year ago.
About a year ago, came together to work together to make sure that everywhere is secured. But from your explanations now, seems that most of these local governments are on their own. What is really happening to that cooperation that was promised last year?
Do you remember? A thing like that? Do you remember?
That what?
That the governors
of the South
Northwest
came together and thought this is the way forward and so on. The governors thought
that last year governors of the Northwest states came together and agreed that there should be cooperation in the way they address this insecurity crisis. What has happened to that, you know,
arrangement?
Honestly speaking, I want to categorically tell you that there was somehow some cosmetic and political statement with respect to the security problem of that community. And I want to tell you that all these statements were not followed up. Because if you look at the extent of to which those communities were infiltrated, and let me tell you, these people used to have their field day. They knew very well that there are not a lot of security men on ground to be able to check their excesses. Yeah. They don't come on they come on broad daylight and they operate on broad daylight. So the issue is that we will request for more political and sincere commitment, not only a political commitment, but a sincere political commitment in this respect. There should be massive redeployment of arms and ammunition, armor tankers, and whatever RPGs, AA guns to be able to contain these people. And if that is done, the vigilante should be integrated because they are the one that knows the terrain more than the military men that will arrive the area for this operation against these terrorists.
All right, Jide, do you have any more queries for Barrister Sani?
Okay, Barrister Sani, thank you so much for the very deep insights. That I want to take you back to government college. The girls have been made pregnant by these bandits. Not only are they made pregnant, some of them were sent back to their parents even with these reports are being made by in the community to ensure the release of the students who are still the students of Federal Government College who are still
he's talking about
I think we lost
with Jide and Barrister Sani Yaro. Of course, lawyer and principal partner at the Chonoko Law Chamber in Birnin-Kebi. Barrister Sani Yaro shared some developments in the Northwest with us. Of course, the situation there is very dire, to say the least, you know.
Yes, I agree with him on some of the measures and think what he recommends. But to me, I will go with a Rufai's, solution in terms of you don't concentrate on one state at a time, because the moment you flush them out of that place, they go to the nearest state, they believe is safe for them, and all that you do a massive total military operation across the country. I don't know whether we have enough men and resources to do that, but at least that is one recommendation we've had repeatedly from Rufai.
Yeah.
And I'm sad that he's even saying it because he's in government, why he has not, handed over this.
He has a privileged information.
And why he has not been able to convince the commander-in-chief to do this. That's another question.
Yeah, I can report that Barrister Sani Yaro is back. Okay. Barrister, are you there?
Yes, I'm there.
Yeah, Jide was trying to know what the update is about those girls that were presumably or that's said to be impregnated by the bandits and so on.
Yeah, you see, I can authoritatively tell you that one of the victims of this, one of my clients, happens to have a daughter that was abducted during that abduction in Birnin-Kebi, sometimes last year. And she has confided in me authoritatively that a lot of these young girls were even married to these terrorists in Dogo Gide's camp. And some of them that are available because of some ethical issues. Some people don't want to come out and say, this is exactly what is happening, and this is exactly what happens to their children because of the environment we belong to. But information going around is that a lot of them were pregnanted by these terrorists. In fact, she even confided in me the circumstances of how these girls were pregnanted. That Dogo Gide used to tell them that his children doesn't commit adultery. So they will ask them to name their dowry, or you'll be the one to name their dowry, mostly 20,000 naira, and you'll be given the 20,000 naira, and a lady will be assigned to one terrorist. This is one of the disheartening information that we are able to get from some reliable information that comes across us. But this is something that you cannot get from other quarters because of the environment we find ourselves.
Thank you, Barrister Sani Yaro. Thank you very kindly for your time.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, GKB, this is traumatic, hearing a thing like that.
Normally, people in government, like Kule said, must be held liable for not giving us enough information.
Yeah.
Because you cannot really, Yorubas will say that is the level of the voice you raise. Will react to the kind of reaction.
It's how loud your alarm is.
Because if you are pretending that things are at a particular level, people will respond with that particular level.
Yeah.
So, but we now know that we are in that streets, even beyond the point where we all knew that local people had no choice but to cohabit and to do business with the terrorists. But it's now getting to a point that the terrorists seem to have a moral hold on our countryside.
And then there's the poor media coverage in some parts of Nigeria. A lot of things, terrible things happen that hardly get into media, narratives. You get my point? If you move across Nigeria, there are some states that you hardly know whether the media is interested in covering such things.
And the people who do those space,
a lot of things, when you now get to know, you say, wow, so this is happening here.
And
sometimes
people will not be forthcoming
and you will not get to know.
With information.
Okay, how do they, make noise? How do they get their voices out when we have poor media coverage?